1 year since Amorim's first game, it'll be Monday when they play against Everton. Now, he said last season he was always overwhelmed by the amount of games, the fixture congestion. Remember, they were in Europe last season as well. They got all the way to the final of the Europa League. Can you see the change of not being in Europe, how much of a difference it's making this season?
Yeah, definitely, because you got players there that can have a rest, they can recover. He can obviously work with a smaller group, which he said that he likes to. He said the players that he had before is too many players. And I think that's the reason why Man United are doing well now. They're able to put maximum effort in, go and play games, and then have enough time to recover, work on things during the season, during the week, and then obviously go and play again. But I still don't think that, Man United are not the finished article, but they're definitely improving. And I've heard, some people saying that, they're scraping through games. Well, every team scrapes through games. Not every team plays well every game. But it's a good sign that they're scraping through games.
But when you say scraping through games, I think this is what you mean. They are unbeaten at home since Arsenal. At the opening day. OK, that's a good thing. But 97th minute penalty against Burnley. Against Chelsea, there was that 4th minute red card for Chelsea. They did beat Sunderland. They nearly let a 3-0 lead slip against Brighton. All right, they didn't. But still, it comes to getting scraping through. Does that mean that some people are getting carried away when they say Manchester United are back?
No, I wouldn't say that. I think it's good to see Man United where they are. It's good to see them winning games. We didn't talk about Liverpool scraping games last year. And there was a few times where, Salah scored in the 93rd minute.
Earlier this season when they were winning in the last minute all the time. We did talk about it a lot, saying, is that going to come?
But that happens. Happens with all the teams, because teams are not going to, again, play well every single game. There's going to be periods in a season where, not everyone's on form. There's going to be periods where you might have suspensions, you have injuries. So not every team's going to play well. And I feel like with Man United now, a lot of people are getting on their back, the critics in the media saying, are they just scraping through games? It's something to worry about still. But I think they've done fantastically well this season. And that game that Man United actually lost against Arsenal, that was probably their best performance of the season. But ultimately, they just didn't put their chances away. But again, I feel like now Man United are heading in the right direction. And Amorim's starting to convince me a little bit more now.
Well, I'm full of stats and facts today. So 4 years ago today, they sacked Ole Gunnar Solskjær, right? At that stage, they were 7th in the league, having lost the Europa League final the previous season. Today, guess where they are? 7th in the league, having lost the Europa League final last season. Have they progressed in any way since Solskjær left?
I mean, it's difficult to say. They have progressed definitely since Amorim's gone there. But I feel like
Ten Hag did win the League Cup and the FA Cup.
Yeah,
you could add that in there.
You're gonna, when you look at it from a trophies point of view, then obviously he done well from a trophies point of view. But I think the squad as a whole wasn't performing. He didn't know his best side, Ten Hag. There's a lot of chops and changes, and I think when you keep changing a manager, it's difficult for players to adapt. It's difficult for players to understand a new system every single season. But Man United have stuck with Amorim. It seems like the players do understand his system. It seems like they're getting better, but they need that consistency because Man United have put them big performances in against the big teams, but they need the consistency to be up there. The question is, have they moved forward since Solskjær? I think when Solskjær first went there, they went forward leaps and bounds, and a lot of players were performing. But I feel like I'd sit on the fence and say it's pretty much the same until we see the Man United that was out there performing under Ferguson and winning things and competing every single season. It's a transitional period.
Right, OK. Well, Sky Sports are partnered with Finalysis, an app where passionate fans share their opinions on their club. If you want to represent your club, scan the QR code on the screen now or visit the Sky Sports app for more details. Let's speak to Manchester United supporter Bradley Tooth now. Good morning to you. Bradley, what do you think? Have you progressed since Solskjær left 4 years ago today?
Bradley, first and foremost, what are you wearing? Is it fancy dress there?
No, actually, glad you brought this up. This is a Stone Roses collaboration with Manchester United, and obviously Manny passed away last night.
Oh, sorry.
So I wanted to put this on for Manny, and I think I think Manchester United should wear the Stone Roses collab either for warm-up or during the game on Monday, because Manny was a massive part of Manchester United and Manchester as a whole. So I think we should, remember him.
You're looking good, Bradley. And that was a nice tribute that you've paid
Lovely
to him
tribute.
there.
My apologies, Bradley.
And
You're good.
So 4 years since Solskjær left, better, worse, or like Jay says, just the same?
I think I was listening to what Jay was saying, and I think on the pitch, the results don't lie, right? I think there's been progression off the pitch, which is where it needed to happen. You know, Solskjær was set to fail, as was Ten Hag, as was Amorim at the beginning. But the club are finally putting in the steps to move the football forward. You know, we were really lacking strategy. We were buying players that were fitting one person's system. There wasn't really anything built for long-term sustainability. That's why the results have been up and down. We've been a cup team for the last 10 years. And, you know, we're seeing signs that the team are moving forward. Yeah, we are scraping through games, but last season we weren't scraping through games. That points to a togetherness and a bit of something about the squad and team. So yeah, we are progressing as a club from where we were with Solskjær. Not that he wouldn't have done an incredible job with under Ratcliffe and what Amorim's got to work with now, because I won't have a bad word said about Ole Gunnar Solskjær.
Bradley, I feel like with Solskjær, I think it's the same kind of situation that Arteta was in when he first went to Arsenal, like getting out some of the bad eggs, you know, trying to make that team spirit, get that team spirit better, make everyone kind of read from the same hymn sheet. But in terms of where Man United are now, like you said, I think Amorim, I'm starting to see real positive signs. And I'm not interested in scraping through games. Every team will scrape through games at some point in the season. But until Man United are back to the Man United, you know, we all remember and love under Alex Ferguson, where they're competing every single year against the Arsenals, Liverpools, Man Cities, it's always going to be a transitional stage, because Man United are still one of the biggest teams in the world. And until Man United are performing to that level where they can compete, it's a transitional stage.
I think you're absolutely right. This season has to be kind of the end of the transitional stage. It almost has to be phase one, right? Get back into the Champions League, get back into Europe, and then build on from there. I think with what Arteta was given at Arsenal, he got rid of the bad eggs.
Yeah.
Eventually, he sort of got a little bit of success early doors, and then he was just left to build. Yeah. You know, we can't have the same time that Arteta's been given for Amorim, because, I mean, we lose one game and we're front page news for a week. Nothing, doesn't matter what else happens in the world. Manchester United win, lose or draw, we're front page news. You know, so there isn't that time afforded to our managers. But if we can just stay calm from a leadership perspective, invest in the right areas, I think, you know, we definitely need to continue to invest in the squad. We will get there. You know, you have to have patience.
Bradley, do you see Man United finishing in top four this season?
I see us finishing in the European places. I see us finishing between fourth and fifth.
I mean, to be honest, I completely agree with that. I said, after the first game of the season, when Man United play against Arsenal, I said, if Man United can replicate these kind of performances, they'll probably be in the top six. But again, it's that consistency we're talking about. But of late, you know, so far this season, Man United have been pretty consistent. Again, they've scraped through, but the consistency of picking up points is there.
Well, yeah, you have shown consistency lately. And actually, if we take your next 10 fixtures, by the way, Bradley, looking at it, only Villa are currently above you in the table in your next 10 games. So how important is this run in shaping your season? And for Ruben Amorim as well, because there were a lot of question marks over him, which have gone away, certainly, since the last international break.
Yeah, and it's right to point to these fixtures because, you know, some of these fixtures are a couple of fixtures in a week. So there's been question marks over, can we do it week in, week out when we've got 2 fixtures in a week? We've obviously got the busy festive period. And these 10 games are the real acid test for Ruben Amorim. They are the sort of the measuring stick that we're going to have to look at how the team can build going forward. It'll get us through to January. I think those come at end of January, February, I think those fixtures take us to. So I think if we're looking back with less than, 7 wins in that period, we've got to be really disappointed.
I mean, to be honest, again, they're the kind of teams, though, that Man United have slipped up against. They're the kind of teams we've seen poor performances against. The bigger teams, again, Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City, Newcastle, all them big teams, Man United seem to perform against. It's the lesser teams where, Man United are front news headlines because they lose against them teams that we've just seen there.
And that's why I've been really calm this season. When we've spoken in the past, I've said, let's wait, because we've been playing really top teams, right? We've played the majority of the top teams, if not all of them. And there was always this period coming before we make, I would pass judgment. So I want to see what the next 10 games bring. I want to see strong performances. There's been, the Sunderland game was one of those games where we would have slipped up last year, where there's a central midfielder who can dictate the play and we just can't get hold of the ball. But, we won that game pretty comfortably. And there's been, yes, we scraped past Burnley, but I was at that game and we were unlucky not to be 3 or 4 up. Quite simply.
You mentioned central midfield there. In your own central midfield, I know a lot of people in the summer were saying that was an area Manchester United need to strengthen. Now, these are newspaper reports. They linked you with Elliot Anderson. They've also linked you with Adam Wharton as well. What do you think of those two? But also, you have been in the newspapers linked with Antoine Semenyo as well, in terms of a more attacking point of view. What do you think about those players?
Well, we get linked with everybody, but those 3 players in particular are 3 players that we should be in the market for, and players that could make a real difference and let's just say improve the squad. I don't think we'll get any of those players. I think they'll go to Manchester City, Liverpool.
Hold on, Brad. Hold it. This is still Man United Football Club. Let's not get it twisted, right? I mean, I look at those players that Tom's just mentioned there. I don't think Semenyo is a good signing. As much as I think he's a very good player, I don't think he's a good signing
for Manchester United.
No, I don't think he's a good signing for Man United. I mean, definitely Elliot Anderson. He's one of the most underrated players in the Premier League for me. He's a fantastic player, and we've seen that for Forest, and we've seen it for England now. He's someone that I definitely would be looking at if I was Man United. But again, Wharton as well. Again,
I think you could attract all 3 of those, unless you're saying that there'd be too much competition.
That's the thing, but Man United can pay wages, right? Man United can pay wages. They're still one of the biggest teams in the world, right? And you've got fantastic players. You've got a manager that's trying to build. You've got owners that want to build as well. Them kind of players, Man United can definitely attract.
It's less about whether we can attract them. Yes, they'd all come to Manchester United. And Semenyo, I think, is incredibly underrated. I think he would make a real difference on that
Where
side.
Where does he play? Where does he play? Because for Bournemouth, he plays on the wings. He don't play as a number 10.
So he has played through the middle, and he
doesn't. When Kluivert's fit, he plays. When Kluivert's fit, he plays as a number 10, and then Semenyo plays on the right or the left. So to me, he's not a player that fits into that 2 number 10s or a striker.
I disagree, but I want to talk more about Elliot Anderson and Wharton, really, because those are the positions that we need. We need a central midfielder. Casemiro has been good this season, but you do need to replace that. I think Elliot Anderson would be the one I'd go for ahead of Wharton, just because I think there's a little bit more legs there, and I think Wharton is quite similar to other options that we have, and younger players that we've got in and around the squad. But Elliot Anderson, I think there's so much competition for that type of player. That's why I don't think we're going to end up with him. But I would 100% want to be in the conversation.
Okay, and point taken. But back to Semenyo. At his at their best, I'm not sure Semenyo is better than Cunha and Mbeumo.
I'm going to throw someone else in as well then, Jay, because I know what you're saying there about Semenyo, but also Ruben Amorim called Everton's Iliman Ndiaye amazing. Well, it's the same kind of thing. They are forward players who tend to play wide.
Ndiaye for me he's one of the best players out there in the Premier League. I'm going to go as far to say that. He's so talented.
So would he fit into Manchester? You're saying Semenyo wouldn't, but
I think
he has played centrally before. I mean, for Sheffield United, he often plays centrally.
I think Ndiaye is more of a number 10.
Okay.
He plays on the wings and he can do a job on both sides. We've seen him play on the left, we've seen him play on the right. But right now, because Grealish is there, he's playing on the right. But I look at him and I say he's more of a number 10. He's more of a player that could step into that Man United team and be better than what they've already got. I think when you start signing, Semenyo's again, he's a very good player, but at Man United, would he be starting? And I think that's what Man United need to look at.
Bradley, let's throw them all in, OK? So you've already got Sesko, Mbeumo, Cunha, Mount. Let's put Amad Diallo there as well. Let's throw in Semenyo and Ndiaye. What would your best front three be if they were all there? I know it's hypothetical, but what would it be?
Well, so Ahmad would be on the right wing back position because that's where he plays. And there's a lot of talk amongst Manchester United fans of Semenyo being on that left hand side in the left wing back position. There's a lot of talk
wing back. Where does he play left wing back?
I'm not in agreement with that. But there's a lot of talk about it.
I thought Man United fans knew their stuff.
For me, it's about a squad, right? He probably wouldn't start ahead of Cunha, but if we were going into this weekend's game, this Monday's game, and we had Semenyo, I would 100% be starting him ahead of Mason Mount.
Bradley, this is just my opinion. Sorry to interrupt you. This is just my opinion, right? I'm saying, when you're a club like Man United, Liverpool, all them teams, right? You sign players that can step into your starting 11. Right? Then you're making competition for places. Now the people that are already there, then they're battling it out for that spot in the side. That's how you make a better squad. You don't sign squad players. You sign players that you think can step into the starting 11. Then you've got competition for places.
Yeah, and if we were to sign Semenyo, you could easily pick Semenyo, Cunha, and Mbeumo as the front three, right? You could easily pick that. But ultimately next season, hopefully we're going to be in more competitions, and injuries happen, this, that, and the other, and you want the quality to be as good as the person who's going to be coming off the pitch. I mean, at the moment, if Cunha gets injured, you're talking Joshua Zirkzee, who I rate, but he's not at the level. You're talking other younger players who are in there. So I do think we need to improve the squad. We are weak after, in the number 10 positions after those players that I mentioned. Mason Mount, as much as he's a really, really good player, we can't rely on him from an injury perspective. So there's got to be something done with that position.
Yeah. OK, Bradley, thank you.
Thanks, Bradley.
No worries. Thanks very much.